The silence after Paris didn't last long. When Carlos Alcaraz walked off the court following his early exit at the Paris Masters, there was frustration, confusion, and quiet tension. But behind closed doors, his coach Juan Carlos Ferrero decided it was time to speak clearly, perhaps more clearly than ever before. According to sources close to the team, Ferrero's message was blunt. "Carlos, the difference between you and Sinner right now is in the head. It wasn't about tactics. It wasn't about fitness. It was about mindset." Ferrero, who once held the world #1 ranking himself, knows the mental cost of staying at the top. He understands that when you've reached the summit, your biggest opponent is no longer the rival across the net. It's the pressure within. Alcaraz's loss in Paris was more than just another bad tournament. It exposed something deeper. His intensity, once his most powerful weapon, had started to fade at critical moments. The hunger, that fearless drive that made him unstoppable in 2022 and 2023, had been replaced by flashes of frustration and doubt. Ferrero didn't hide his concern. During the team meeting after Paris, the coach reminded him of the truth every great player faces. Talent isn't enough when the mind wavers. "Even the best forehand in the world is useless if you lose focus," he reportedly said. "What separates Jannik Sinner right now," Ferrero pointed out, "isn't a better forehand or stronger serve, it's composure. The Italian has learned to stay calm when things go wrong. He doesn't panic. He adapts." That maturity, Ferrero believes, is what currently divides the two. "You can train your shots all day," Ferrero told him. "But if you don't train your mind, you'll lose your fire." It was a serious warning, but one Alcaraz needed to hear. Ferrero admitted part of the problem was the calendar. Too many tournaments, too much media pressure, and too little rest. After Paris, he decided to restructure everything. Less off-court obligations, more active recovery, and a renewed focus on mental strength. The new training sessions now include breathing exercises, visualization drills, and psychological endurance work. Methods designed to help Carlos stay in the present and avoid emotional swings during matches. Every point, Ferrero insists, must feel like the first. This reset, he says, isn't about rankings or trophies. This isn't about defending points, Ferrero told him. It's about defending your identity. The message hit hard. Because beneath the statistics and media hype, Ferrero wants his student to rediscover what made him special. The fearless joy of playing, the emotional energy that once intimidated every rival. In Ferrero's view, Alcaraz must stop chasing perfection and start enjoying the fight again. During the 2022 season, Carlos played as if he had nothing to lose. Every shot was an adventure. Every match was a story. That attitude, Ferrero insists, must return. Meanwhile, across the net, Sinner continues to embody everything Alcaraz once represented: discipline, balance, and total focus. The Italian has built consistency through simplicity. If Sinner wins, Ferrero told Carlos, it's because he never disconnects. He follows the plan. Always. That respect wasn't a criticism, it was a challenge. Ferrero knows the rivalry between Alcaraz and Sinner could define the next decade, but only if Carlos grows mentally stronger. The coach ended the meeting with one final sentence that reportedly left the room in silence. "The world already knows what you can do with your racket. Now it's time to show what you can do with your mind." And in that moment, the mission changed. For Carlos Alcaraz, the next battle isn't against Sinner or anyone else, it's against himself. Subscribe to WorldNews Tennis for Part 2, the transformation in Alcaraz's training, Ferrero's new methods, and how mental discipline could define the 2026 season. After Paris, something changed inside the Alcaraz camp. The following morning, when most players would still be decompressing or traveling home, Juan Carlos Ferrero had already scheduled a closed training session in Murcia. It wasn't about hitting balls or lifting weights, it was about resetting the mind. He told Carlos they would start again from zero. Forget Paris. Forget the ranking. Let's rebuild your mentality from the ground up. The atmosphere was serious but calm. Ferrero wasn't angry. He was determined. He introduced a new concept: controlled intensity. The goal was to help Alcaraz rediscover his explosiveness without losing patience, to dominate with aggression, but not desperation. Throughout that session, there was no scoreboard, no rival, only discipline. Ferrero observed every movement, stopping Carlos between points to discuss breathing, focus, and attitude. He reminded him, "You don't need to win every point fast. You need to win the point that matters." This might sound simple, but for a player like Alcaraz, naturally emotional and aggressive, it means reprogramming instinct. Ferrero wants him to rediscover the art of constructing points, the balance between chaos and control that once made his tennis electric. At the same time, the coach decided to modify his tournament calendar for 2026. Too many events had drained both his energy and enthusiasm. Ferrero's plan is surgical: fewer appearances, longer preparation blocks, and a specific focus on surfaces where Carlos feels naturally confident: grass and hard courts. The intention is clear: not to chase titles, but to chase identity. In addition to tactical refinement, Ferrero has brought in a new sports psychologist to work alongside Carlos 2 days per week. The sessions include visualization routines, short meditation drills, and techniques to silence negative inner dialogue during tight moments. "Every champion learns to master silence," Ferrero said. "The crowd, the opponent, even your own head, everything must go quiet." This is what he sees in Jannik Sinner right now, a player who operates in silence, emotionless on the surface, but burning inside. Ferrero wants Alcaraz to find that same internal balance, not to become like Sinner, but to learn the same control. He often reminds him, "Learn from him, but don't become him." That phrase has become the motto of their training camp. Meanwhile, on the court, Alcaraz has started implementing new routines. 20-minute focus warm-ups before each practice, eye contact drills with his team to strengthen non-verbal communication, and pressure points sessions, where Ferrero forces him to play decisive points in silence, simulating match tension. The results, according to those who've seen him train, are promising. His forehand is more precise, his demeanor calmer, and his breathing more controlled. The smile has returned, not as a show, but as a sign of confidence. Ferrero has also been working on strategy. The goal is to rebuild Alcaraz's transition game, that explosive move from defense to offense that once made him unstoppable. Against players like Sinner or Medvedev, who dominate rhythm, Ferrero wants Carlos to use variety again. Drop shots, slices, unexpected volleys, weapons that have been underused in recent months. He doesn't need to hit harder, Ferrero says. He needs to think sharper. But perhaps the most symbolic change came last week, when Ferrero asked Carlos to practice without a scoreboard. For 3 straight sessions, they played sets without keeping track of the score. The only objective was emotional control. Every mistake had to be followed by a reset breath. Every point, a fresh start. Observers close to the team describe a calmer, more patient version of Alcaraz emerging. He no longer rushes. He anticipates. He listens. He smiles more, but he also listens more. As one member of his staff put it, this isn't the Carlos who wants to destroy everyone in 2 sets. This is the Carlos who wants to outlast everyone. That transformation, Ferrero believes, is what will define his next step. Not just to challenge Sinner, but to evolve beyond him. The season is not over, but the message from Juan Carlos Ferrero is already clear. 2026 will be the year of transformation for Carlos Alcaraz. After a turbulent stretch through Shanghai and Paris, the Spaniard has started to regain direction. The short-term goal remains simple: finish the year as world number 1. The long-term mission, however, runs much deeper: rediscover himself. Ferrero's decision was made after the Paris Masters. The plan for the final part of the season was built around 2 principles: less noise, more clarity. Every training session has become a process of simplification: fewer technical details, more psychological depth. You don't need to impress the world, Ferrero told him during their last practice in Murcia. You need to remind yourself who you are. Now, Alcaraz's schedule is set. He will finish 2025 with the ATP Finals in Turin and the Davis Cup with Spain. 2 tournaments that could define not only his season but also his rivalry with Jannik Sinner. The math is simple. If Carlos wins 3 matches in Turin, he will reclaim the top spot. If not, the Italian will remain on the throne. But beyond rankings, Ferrero insists that the real challenge lies in mentality. Sinner doesn't play against you, he said. He plays against himself. That's why he wins. That phrase has become the mantra of Alcaraz's new chapter. To prepare for 2026, Ferrero has already confirmed a strategic adjustment. Carlos will return to Queen's Club in London, the tournament that has always marked his best summers. In both 2023 and 2025, every time he lifted the Queen's Trophy, he reached the Wimbledon final. It's his ritual of renewal, a reminder that his tennis is at its best when played with joy, not tension. "Queen's is special for me," Alcaraz said recently. "Every time I've played there, I've found my rhythm again. The crowd, the atmosphere, the court, it just feels like home before Wimbledon." The tournament, set for June 13th to 21st, will serve as his key warm-up for the British major. From there, the calendar continues with a symbolic clash. A special exhibition match in Incheon, South Korea, on January 10, 2026, just 8 days before the Australian Open. The opponent? Jannik Sinner. It will be their first meeting in Asia, and though it's technically an exhibition, the tension is expected to be real. For tennis fans, it's the perfect prelude to a season that promises to define a new era. The rivalry between Alcaraz and Sinner, two prodigies fighting not just for titles, but for legacy. Behind the scenes, Ferrero is calm but firm. He knows this off-season could be decisive. He's demanded focus, rest, and emotional balance. He doesn't want Carlos obsessed with revenge or rankings. He wants him obsessed with growth. "If you fix the mind," Ferrero said, "the ranking will fix itself." Still, the warning remains. The ATP circuit is tightening. With Djokovic managing his calendar intelligently, and young names like Fritz, Rune, and Shelton approaching maturity, the era of easy dominance is over. That's why Ferrero repeats the same line at the end of every session. Constancy, not chaos. It's not just about the number one spot, it's about staying there. Meanwhile, Sinner continues to act as the mirror. His controlled aggression, his minimalistic calm, and his emotional neutrality have made him the model of modern tennis. Ferrero respects that, but he reminds Carlos that imitation is not evolution. "Learn from him, but don't become him," he says again. "You're not meant to copy Sinner. You're meant to beat him." Now, with the ATP finals just days away, both camps prepare in silence. In Turin, the story could swing either way. If Sinner dominates again, he'll close the year as a double champion and the new mental benchmark of the sport. But if Alcaraz returns with the fire Ferrero has been rebuilding, calm, focused, fearless, tennis may witness the rebirth of its most explosive force. Because for Ferrero and Alcaraz, this is no longer just about points or trophies. It's about proving that hunger, when guided by discipline, always finds its way back to the top.